Well, Brian, we're out here on hole 11 where 166 days ago we were just getting started with our golf course restoration, and now mid-November, amazed by the quality of the turf, and I think a testament obviously to the work of McDonald Construction and Landscapes, but really your team, an incredible effort to get the golf course in this condition here heading to winter. And we're here today for our State of the Union, so to speak, as we button things up. This will be our last update until next spring when we get back out here and continue the grow-in process. But thought today we'd take a walk here on both sides of the road, starting here at 11, and talk to us a little bit about the process to grow this turf in, where you think it's at in its life cycle, and I know right where we thought it would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So the fine turf surfaces all were seeded by our team. You can see the density of this fairway we're very pleased with. The fairways on the south side of Interlachen Boulevard have had several mows on them already. And what we're seeing as the grass plant grows and you cut it, it actually physiologically changes and starts spreading laterally a little bit more. So with that, the density increases and it starts looking like a golf course again. I'm really excited about that process. You can see also we did some targeted seeding in the roughs. That has been taken off. Overall, I do see us keep touching up each and every year in the fall, just making sure that we did this investment of time and resources, and we want to make sure that we keep the fostering that stand of the grasses that we wish, the bluegrasses and fine fescues in the rough. We want to focus on bent grass in the fairways, greens and tees, and keeping annual bluegrass out. And it's going to just take ongoing investments for us to try to maintain that those grasses as we move forward and open the golf course back up.
Awesome. Well, let's take a walk up here to the green, and maybe as you're walking, I think you alluded to something there that's important we talk about, which is kind of easing into the reopening and the efforts that we're going to take even beyond that. I think the example you used the other day when you open a building, it's a little bit like flipping a switch, and a golf course is a little bit more like a knee surgery, right? It takes some time to get it to full strength, and we're going to have to adapt as we head into next season, and we'll be starting with less rounds than we had when we closed, and you and your team will be continually working to get the grass plant to where it needs to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they came from seed. These were seedlings, and it's so critical, that maturation process. I know next spring and early summer, we need that maturation so that the golf course can support the amount of traffic, the wear that we have. Really fortunate that the USGA gives us some good guidelines about limiting the stress on a new golf course, because the last thing we want to do is go backwards. So as we onboard onto the course, we're going to be real careful with traffic, amount of play, always looking at the wear that we see throughout the golf course surfaces.
Excellent. I know we're talking about some of those reopening plans already and starting to plan for what that'll look like. That USGA guideline you referenced, about 100 rounds a day out of the gates, and so we've got some work to do there to prepare for that. And I had to stop, just as we transition from fairway to approach, you just feel the firmness from that fairway to all the work we did here in the approaches with the drainage and reusing the greens mix from the old greens. You can really start to feel how that playing surfaces changes, and my guess is we're going to feel it again here when we get up to the green.
Yeah, that's been really exciting through the process. As we transition from that fairway to the approaches, and then again from the approaches to these green surfaces, just that firmness. I'm excited to see some golf balls rolling around these surfaces and seeing golfers back on the course.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to play for sure. Well, you made reference, we're about 6 weeks later on the north side of the road, so maybe we'll head over there and talk about where that grass plant's at and how your agronomic practices will change to get, frankly, both the north and south side about to the same place by the time we open in July. Here we are now on the north side of Interlachen Boulevard, up on hole number 8 fairway. A lot of transformation here over the course of the last several weeks. Nice to see some trees planted along the property line here. That'll fill in really nice over time. And Brian, obviously this turf, as we talked about 6 weeks behind the turf on the south side. Talk to us a little bit about our progress over here and how your agronomic practices will change to really influence getting this in playing condition very similar to the south side by July.
So after we seed, we have different applications scheduled every week for the next 8 weeks. And a lot of that is fertilizer, just making sure we sustain the nutrition. we're just coming off of that on this north side. But a big thing is we haven't had a chance to mow any of this grass yet. It's just still too young. We do more damage than good.
Sure.
So again, next spring, that's when we're gonna start seeing the mowers go on, and ultimately the density of this grass further improve. Also on this north side, there was a couple rain events in late September, early October, where we did have some washouts. We've always planned for this. We have sod in Wisconsin for this. But we still had some time. We fixed those washouts, reseeded them. We're kind of seeing what's gonna take. But one of those items next spring will be any areas that we don't like, any bumps in the road, we'll sod cut those out, put some sod in that's already mature, so it'll be off and running. We just want to keep that quantity to a minimum. We'd rather seed as much as we can, have that seed take, and then just use the sod in any of those real hard areas to get established.
Well, and I think that's something we should spend a minute on is all of that planning and anticipation that you and your team had for these areas that may see some washouts or some damage. We're coming up here on some of the erosion control matting that we've installed under those new seedlings, and I think great opportunity for this grass because frankly, this was some of the last turf on this side to be seeded and really in pretty good shape for this time of the year. So
we used a lot of different erosion control measures. Here we're on a germination mat. We're gonna see some erosion control logs where we anticipate large amount of waters just moving off the surfaces. So try to slow that down. But these covers also help out with the maturation of the grass a little bit too. It keeps it a little bit warmer when we have these cool nights. Here's an area, this green actually, we had some of the surrounding soil wash onto it, so we kind of had to reboot that. But this acts as a mini greenhouse, so we reseeded this area, and to get it back up to the speed with the rest of the green, using these covers to kind of attract sun, warm up the soil, and help that grass plant get a little bit further along than the surrounding green here.
Excellent. I think maybe a question people are thinking about is, are we going to cover our greens anymore? And now with this new bent grass, we won't cover our greens, and even in this first year, not intending to cover our greens.
Correct. Yeah, overall, the covers help annual bluegrass survive the winters. Bent grass can handle under ice conditions almost 2 times to 3 times longer than annual bluegrass. So we actually take the covers off, and that's just one more way that we can try to maintain a solid bent grass surface.
Awesome. Well, let's head up here to this 2-8T interchange. Honestly, really thrilled with how this came together. I think a lot of questions about this tight corridor on the golf course, and really some neat architectural features here. From a turf perspective, one of the differences was we sodded most of our tees on this side of Interlachen Boulevard, and that was always part of the plan just based on the timing of construction, but you can see some gaps in the sod here and some bumps. What do we do to solve for that and get it ready for play by next summer too?
Yeah, so there was actually a tee on the south side of the road that we sodded because there was a steep incline into the 12th green. That tee, it looked like this initially, but once the sod roots down, then we could start manipulating, doing some of our management techniques where we're rolling it, we're adding sand for top dressing, really working on the areas to get it nice and flat, nice and level as we onboard the golf course. You'll see those activities take part early next year, next spring. Right now, it's important we just give this sod a chance to root down before the winter. And what's pretty crazy too is you'll see us laying sod as late as we can. We'll lay sod on surfaces, even on frozen ground at times. It's remarkable that we water that sod and the roots keep growing well beyond what you'd typically think. So there's been sod that I've laid on Thanksgiving. The next spring I come, try to pull up that piece of sod, it's already rooted down into the soil. So that's one of those techniques that we're using so that we can round out this renovation and close out just some of the remaining teeing areas and haul roads into November here.
Awesome, that's a good segue. We're looking out, we see some equipment moving behind us here. Crew's still on site working. You made reference to laying sod late. What remains for us here to close out the rest of the year?
So we have some peripheral areas where we're doing some additional seeding. We do see like the haul roads to get access to different areas. Those will start closing out. So we kind of go from the farthest point and work our way back. There's a couple other items. You'll see our team's starting to prepare these grass plants for winter, making sure that we have our plant protectants down for any possibility of snow mold. We're scheduled for our irrigation blowout and just the normal kind of typical tasks that golf courses have late into the fall. Regarding the renovation, seeding, final sodding areas, we also see some opportunities next year to install some additional perimeter screening. Some trees along the parking lot on one to screen the cars from the first tee in the golf course.
Excellent. Well, you know, it's been a pretty incredible journey over the course of the last 160 plus days. And, you know, we're glad to be where we are today. I think by all accounts, a very successful construction season and by no mistake. We talked about that anticipation and planning and a lot of hard work by a lot of people, starting with you and your team. And we'll look forward to buttoning up and finishing just as strong and be ready to go in the spring as we prepare for an exciting July. So thanks for your work, and we'll look forward to picking this up when the sun starts shining again in the spring.